Hello, my name is Ann Sullivan, and I am here to talk to you about what I have accomplished in my life along with my lifelong companion, Helen Keller. Although I do not view myself as a hero, I have been honored for my contributions to the educational world. Growing up, nobody thought I would ever amount to much. After contracting trachoma at the age of 5, I was left half blind. 3 years later, my mother died, and I was left in the care of my abusive father. After being abandoned and spending some time in a poorhouse, I was eventually entered into the Perkins Institute for the Blind. I spent 7 years at Perkins and was eventually recommended for a teacher position for a 7-year-old girl who was both blind and deaf, named Helen Keller. Helen was a temperamental child, and quickly I realized that my teaching style was not going to work for her. Before, I had a very strict and intensive way of teaching. After I got to know Helen, I realized that I had to not push too hard and focus on things that interested her. In the beginning, Helen and I communicated solely through fingerspelling. Fingerspelling happened through manually spelling words onto each other's palms. My first goal was to express to Helen that everything has a word that represents it. Once Helen understood this, her vocabulary expanded to over 500 words within the 6 months. In addition to her newly found vocabulary, Helen had also learned some multiplication tables and the Braille system. Helen and I fingerspelled to each other for quite some time. However, Helen desperately wanted to communicate in more traditional ways with those around her. Together, Helen and I developed new and innovative ways to communicate. By placing her hand strategically on my face, Helen was able to feel sounds. Helen would place her thumb on my throat, right by my larynx. Her first finger would rest on my lips, while her second finger was placed on my nose. Through this technique, Helen was able to feel the vibrations of particular sounds and words, and could consequently produce them herself. Helen became able to produce sounds, words, and eventually sentences. Never underestimating Helen's abilities, I always pushed her. I firmly believe that all teachers should push their students to their fullest potential. Setting high expectations for your students will generate amazing accomplishments as demonstrated by my protege, Helen Keller. Throughout Helen's life, I followed her through high school and eventually college, where she earned a degree. Always encouraging and supporting Helen made it possible for her to graduate from Radcliffe College. Using my innovative methods of teaching opened a whole new world for education for people who have visual or hearing impairments. Students with disabilities could be pushed in ways never thought imaginable. My accomplishments with Helen certainly got us recognized. In 1932, we were awarded with honorary fellowships from the Educational System Institute in Scotland. Some years later, I was awarded with honorary degrees from both Temple University and Harvard University. Also, at the Perkins Institute for the Blind, the director's cottage was named after Helen and myself, the Keller Macy Cottage. All of these acknowledgments were nice, but I do not feel as if I am deserving. When I received all these awards, I refused to speak or accept them publicly. I did not feel as if people would benefit from my words. Teaching Helen was more than just a way to gain fame or celebrity. Helen and I grew a deep and strong connection with one another. We were interdependent on each other and relied on one another to better ourselves. That is what teaching should be all about. Get to know your students and find what works best for them. I had to drastically change my teaching philosophy after working with Helen. Teachers must change and adapt to the situations they are put into. Through my learning experiences as an educator, I have realized that a teacher's job goes far beyond the classroom. Truly caring for and changing to meet the needs of your students will impact a child's life more than imaginable. Although I do not view myself as a hero, outsiders believe I have accomplished great feats with my student and friend Helen. If nothing else, I hope that my ambitions will touch others, teachers, to positively impact their students' lives. My time spent with Helen amounts to more than just starring in films or traveling for publicity. We created something bigger than the both of us. Hopefully, our innovations in education will continue to inspire generations to come in bettering our educational system and society. I thank you greatly for listening.